The Tech It Up Talk podcast aspires to educate, inform, and inspire educators from teachers to school leaders on tips, tools, and resources to support the integration of technology into classroom instruction.
You ready? Here we go.
You're listening to Tech It Up Talk with Dr. Mac, your host with the most passion for supporting educators from teachers to school leaders with the integration of technology into instruction. Today, we're diving into a fascinating discussion about fostering student creativity in a digital world. With so much focus around technology for instruction, we can't forget its power to inspire, to innovate, and amplify student voices. My guest today is Dr. Iris Garner, a visionary educator and a contributing author to Get Your Tech Together, Rethinking School Culture in a Digital Age. Her chapter, The Creator Lounge, a sanctuary for student creativity in a digital age, explores how we can build spaces where students thrive as creators, problem solvers, and innovators. So I would like to welcome to the Tech It Up Talk podcast, Dr. Garner. It is so exciting to have you here with us today. Please share a little bit about yourself for our guests.
Absolutely. But before I share anything, I just want to express my gratitude. From the very first time that I met you, I could tell your passion was just contagious. Your love for education was overflowing, and just your grace for people and how you corral their attention around education. You are a true advocate, and I appreciate that in you, and excited to be a part of this podcast and to be a contributing author and just to be connected with a visionary such as yourself. So first, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I wasn't, expecting any accolades, but thank you. Sometimes it's always hard to receive. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But go ahead and share your journey, because I'm sure I want to share with everyone else how exciting it is to know you as well, because, just as much as you're thankful, I am too. And so if you could just introduce yourself and your journey in education.
Of course. I like to say that if you cut me, I bleed chalk. I've been in education more than 3 decades, from the local community all the way to the U.S. Department of Education. Whether it's from the courthouse to the White House, I have been engaged across the gamut, really along the lines of policy, assessment, instruction design, and the value that I've found in my journey is that the nucleus of what we do is for the kids. It should be designed and influenced by the kids so that they can get the best of what we have to offer. So currently I am a leader at T-Mobile, leading the most stellar group of visionary leaders across the Southeast. And what they're challenged to do is reimagine what technology looks like and how it influences teaching and learning. But I started as a teacher, moved across and through the ranks and through the communities, from building leader to grant writer, from elementary or pre-K actually, all the way to higher ed. So I am incredibly blessed to have had such a journey that was inspired by a family of educators. If I get absolutely nothing right, I want to get the role and goal of my life as being a true educator and a mom. And I'm satisfied with that. And those intertwine.
Oh, that's amazing. So in our book, Get Your Tech Together, you wrote about the Creator Lounge, which I thought was really fascinating. And thinking of students as creators in the space that we have and share with them. And so, what inspired you to write about the Creator Lounge?
Excellent question. I actually was a center director in Miami, Florida, pre-K. And I noticed that we expect for play and collaboration to be a part of a child's early journey. But unfortunately, it kind of tapers off. We're not intentional about giving them the opportunity to be curious, allowing them to develop their critical thinking skills, giving them access and choice. We kind of taper it off. And I thought, what a wonderful way to lean in on that and encourage individuals to think about how we lead up learners using technology. So this gave me the perfect opportunity to blend instruction, collaborative learning, technology, and curiosity, all to marry it all together and come up with something that I think is magnificent.
Awesome. And so, why is fostering student creativity so important, and especially in today's digital age?
So we're dealing with digital natives, and how they think, how they learn, how they grow, and how they go is all evolved around technology. So if it is that we're going to engage them really intentionally and give them the opportunity to grow and show up authentically themselves, then we have to meet them where they are. One thing that I want to lean in on is to support this notion of letting the leader be the creator instead of the consumer. I think that gets lost in the classroom. It's more of a sit and get versus allowing them the freedom to explore and to engage and to solve problems and to connect and think differently, deeper and wider. We don't give them the tools to do that. So this opportunity allowed or encourages and supports one to think a little bit different, right? To support this notion of creation, ideation, collaboration, the things that we know that are absolutely necessary in the workplace, right? So if our ultimate goal is to prepare them for where they're going, we've got to start earlier than where we are.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I think it's really important because we have students who are different learners. They learn differently, have different experiences. And so when I used to support school districts directly and go campus to campus and supporting the implementation of technology and trying to get people to adopt, sometimes we'll get apprehension because, teachers weren't comfortable with the creativity piece. Well, not necessarily the creativity piece. Maybe I should say the technology that would lend itself to students having opportunities to be creative. And so sometimes I would get them to be able to adopt toward maybe after the testing season has ended to take on a notion to explore like choice and personalized learning in the classroom. And from those I've supported that have crossed that mark, they found that students really surprised them when they were able to do a little bit more than what was asked, because now they had choice in how they were showcasing their learning. They were getting creative because they had agency and being able to continue to be proud about the work product that they were creating. And in some cases, not all student products were the same. And so it added for a variety of options. And, teachers like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. This student did more than they normally do in particular activities. And so I love the notion that sometimes, our leaders and our teachers need to just give students those opportunities. And it's okay if you don't know how to use those tools thoroughly, because more than likely those kids will come back and teach you. I know that they taught quite a few teachers, and you just have to be comfortable with giving them those opportunities and creating those spaces for them. So I love that. And so for my next question, I wanted to talk about if you can describe what this space looks like and how it functions in a school setting.
So another value add around this sanctuary is that it can take on the shape that it needs to for the space that's available. I wanted it to be a flexible type of experience, right? So those that metaphorically speaking, if you need a Disney World, then it can take on what that looks like, right? If you need, if you're in love with mammals and you need a Sea World, it can take on that type of experience. But I say all of that because it can be as big or small or as intimate or it could be adapted to whatever you have available, even the technologies. I think that's one of the greatest aspects about the sanctuary, right? So if you have a fully operable space, much like the size of your average classroom, and you want to have a corner where you're doing recording videos and such, then you can allow for that, right? If you have another space where you're doing programming and you're designing different apps and such, then you can allow for that. I wanted it to be adaptable, right? And I think what's really, really important is that we allow the students to have choice, even choice in what that experience looks like. There is not a solid blueprint that should be followed. Rather, it is an opportunity for all stakeholders to have a voice in what the experience should look and feel like. So I want to remove any intimidation around what it has to be, rather encourage you to think about all of the possibilities of what it can be. So it is really an opportunity for one to travel across different technology platforms to get together the best that they need to create whatever it is that they're solving for, whether they're solving for a culinary activity at the completion of a unit in history, or whether they are solving for competition for esports, whatever that might look like. Anyone that's working towards something academic should be able to come in and gather resources and tools and insights and build collaborative partnerships that will get them closer down the journey in which they need to go.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. So now let's kind of switch to leveraging technology for creativity. And so when I think about some technology that kind of lend itself to that, I think about emerging technologies like AI, VR, and other digital media tools that can enhance students. And so how can these emerging technologies really enhance the creativity for students in a creative space or just in the classroom in general?
One is that it allows for them to have choice in different mediums and media, right? They can figure out which medium, and they can figure out what type of resource they need. And I think historically we did not have that. We had maybe two options, and this is what you get and this is what you have to do. And I don't know that we understand the value of that. We can operationalize that as adults and teachers and whatever profession we're in, or, if we're looking for an out, we understand that when it comes to our lives, but I don't know that we understand how it translates to the learner. So whether it is that they can use VR or AI or just TED Talks, any of those resources to then help them guide their journey in creating their masterpiece. I think it's much more challenging to come up with a vision without any exemplars than it is to come up with a vision and leverage the best and the brightest, because then it just allows you to go on stage and deliver things that may not have been put together before, but they've been sampled. And how wonderful it is to have something that's already been tried and true, but then elevate it to fit even a different population. And that is what technology does.
I love that. And especially with AI really taking Storm into our daily lives, outside of education, but really in education, I think it really creates even more opportunities to kind of expand upon that. And so it's like limitless, and having, like I would say, my AI is my thought partner, and thinking through ideas, getting creative with things that they probably wouldn't have thought about, or different perspectives that they can add in if they're leveraging tools to help them with brainstorming and thinking through things. And I also like the virtual reality piece, because a lot of times our students are unfortunately they don't always have the opportunities to kind of expand beyond their environments. And so I think is important to bring those opportunities to them. And I think technology allows us to do that. maybe they never travel overseas to somewhere and experience things that they may have seen on TV, but maybe we can bring that experience to them. Maybe they've never been out of their state, and some maybe they've never been out of their neighborhood. And so I love the fact that we have these technologies that really can create opportunities for students to really thrive and have access to opportunities that they probably wouldn't have to expand their creativity in the classroom or in the school. And so I love that.
Well, I want to share something. I think I was in Washington, D.C. one time, and it was at a restaurant, and I believe it was in the centermost part of a mall, and I was with my family, and we love sushi. And we sat at this restaurant, and it was a conveyor belt of sushi that was going around us. And I felt like it just inspired us to try something new. It inspired us to think about the presentation and the colors and the different types of fish, and who was the chef and what was the orientation of the fish. And it just changed the way we consumed, because we saw all of the plethora of options that were available. And I believe that's what these different platforms provide for our students. The opportunity to dream, with this limitless type of experience of seeing what is possible. And that alone is a gift.
Yes, it is. What advice would you give for educators who want to encourage creativity, but maybe feel limited by maybe curriculum constraints or a lack of resources?
Excellent question. The best question of the night. I think if you've been in education, you've had that feeling in some capacity at some point. And the first thing I say is try something small. Try something small. And then create you a community so you can continue to empower each other to expand the way you think about instruction and the tools that you use. So whether it is a recording studio in the back of your classroom, or whether it is photography, a class that you offer, the first 15 minutes, allowing students to try and to sample and to lean into what they naturally gravitate to. Because I think what you'll find is that you'll grow up, or you'll harvest the biggest advocates and an interest in the work that you're doing. And most importantly, a thirst for other students and educators to try the same thing.
Well, I love that, a thirst for them to try the same thing. I love that. And I think a thirst can be impactful because it can also create change within a building culture.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a teacher is experiencing this with their students, and their fellow colleagues start to see some of this, and now you have students, oh man, why does such and such get to do this in their class, or whatever that may be, to start creating that diffusion of innovation across an organization. And so I love that, the thirst. Okay, so I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and sharing, the importance of us even just thinking of our students as creators, and really fostering opportunities for educators to really think past the limitations of curriculum, or even the lack of resources for our students that still have access to these opportunities. And so before you go, if listeners could walk away with one key message about fostering creativity, and especially in the digital age, what would it be?
Really, creativity is the key that unlocks the authentic child and give them the permission to be who they were designed to be. And imagine what that does for us. It's the freedom to be whoever it is, and we're all uniquely purposed to do something incredibly amazing that no one else can do. And that's what creativity does.
Oh, I love that. Give permission. That was something I think growing up and growing into who I am today, I had to do for myself, just in a lot of things, is giving myself permission just to be great. I didn't have to appease or um, perform to the standards of others. I could set those standards for myself and be who I am and be comfortable in that. And so I love that. And so how can other educators connect with you and learn more about the Creators Lounge and the work you do in education?
I thought you would never ask. I am on LinkedIn, Dr. Iris Garner, and I am excited to connect with each and every one of you. So please connect. Let's figure out how we can collaborate. Let's figure out how we can continue to move the needle forward and be the best advocates for our most prized possession, our students. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, Dr. Garner, thank you so much for sharing your insights on the Creator Lounge and how we can create spaces where students thrive as creators. Of course, your chapter is an inspiring part of Get Your Tech Together. And I know those who are out there listening will walk away with ideas that they can put into action right away. And so all of my educators who are there listening, if you're looking for ways to build a creative culture in your school, but be sure to grab a copy of our book, Get Your Tech Together. It's available to you now on Amazon. And follow Dr. Garner for more insights. And as always, I want to thank you all for tuning in to Tech It Up Talk with Dr. Mack, where we explore how to level up learning with technology. And until next time, I want you to keep innovating, keep inspiring, and keep leading with tech. Thank you for joining us.